Ok, evo, lagano ćemo krenuti, malo smo sačekali za one koji imaju uvijek obaveza pa ne stignu. Vidjeli ste najavu, znači u okviru naših Biztalk meetupa, evo ja ću dok sam ovdje skinuti ako vam ne smeta, poslije ću staviti tamo. U okviru naših Biztalk meetupa nastojimo stvarno za community osigurati dobra predavanja, zanimljiva, koja mogu pomoći bilo našim startupima, bilo ljudima u tvrtkama, sve ono što možemo dignuti kvalitet i startupa i tvrtki. I jedna od stvari koju smo vidjeli je recimo baš predstavljanje projekata. Znači kao što znate, neki od vas u tijeku nam je upisi u ovu, vidite ja dobro osukamičim, već imam tremu. Znači u tijeku su nam upisi u našu startup akademiju startit i sad prva stvar nakon što se svi prijave do 7. će biti predstavljanje projekata u subotu. I tu smo vidjeli da mladi poduzetnici u početnoj fazi koji su došli s dobrim projektom, jednostavno se suoči da to trebaju prezentirati. Znači, bit će žiri ovdje, treba ga prezentirati. I što vam koristi ako imate super projekt, ako vi u te 3 minute ne uspijete dobro to ispričati? Jednostavno, ako oni to žiri ne shvati, dobra se ne ocijeni, nikad neće ta vaš kvalitet doći do izražaja. To smo vidjeli već sa našim startupima ove 3 godine, pa čak i oni kad se na natječaj prijavaju, dosta zreliji, dobar projekt, loš, evo, uvjetno rečeno predavač. I to nas je motiviralo da ovdje stvarno osiguramo vrhunskog predavača, a Peter je možda nešto najbolje u svijetu što imate, jer i ne znate šta imamo u Splitu, znači on je naš Spličan već 4 godine, iako više je na putu i to stvarno vodi neke od najvećih konferencija, tehnoloških i Shift ovdje naš je vodio u svijetu, trebalo bi puno da nabrojim. I stvarno sam želio da nešto najbolje osiguram za vas, tako da evo, budite, stvarno vam može biti drago što ćete čuti vrhunski event, a opet ovdje na 5 minuta u vašem gradu. Evo, ja ću se sad brzo ukloniti, znači ovaj prostor Pix, kao što znate, malo nas pratite na društvenim mrežama gdje jesmo na našem webu, jer puno dobrih stvari organiziramo. Svi se vi ovdje neke znam, neke ne bavite raznim stvarima, ali stvarno u ovom području, znači startupa, IT edukacija imamo puno svašta za nekoga. Ovo je naš inkubator, pratite nas, javite se s dobrim idejama i to je to. Sad ću vas pustiti Peteru, znači samo da rečem, predviđeno je znači 2 puta po 45 minuta, imat ćemo pauzu 15 minuta poslije prvog, malo da se osvježite, imate tu kafe aparat, imate vodu, imate sokove. Završavam, predviđeno je negdje 8 manje 15 i tada nećemo ono da se razbježite, nego ćemo tada donijeti iz Kalipsa tople pice, pivo i tako sokove, pa ostanite još 50 minuta, možda malo što se kaže, izađite iz komfort zone, upoznajte se koji niste, možda još nešto pitajte Petera i to je to. Želim vam godno vrijeme, Peter, stage je tvoj.
Thank you very much. So Damir mentioned I've been here in Split for 4 years, but in fact I've been a little bit longer than in Croatia. So I started 20 years ago. I came to Croatia in Rovinj. I lived there for about 3 years. Then I moved and I got married to a woman from Varaždin. And I laugh at that. I shouldn't laugh at that. I divorced that woman from Varaždin. It's not funny. I hope she's not here. So 14 years in Varaždin, about, maybe longer, maybe it was all a blur for me. And then last 4 or 5 years here in Split. So more than 20 years in Croatia. This will just be in English. We could do this in Croatian, but I would have a kajkovski naglasak if we did it. So we'll just do everything in English here. So today, right now, the whole idea of this is by the end of this, so wherever you are in terms of somebody who has to pitch, for example, or somebody who has to present themselves or their ideas, or if you're just somebody at work, a leader, a team leader, a manager, or not even one of those, the way you communicate naturally is important. And by the end of this, hopefully, you'll have some ideas on how you can share your messages better, how to get people to listen to you better. Right? To get people to feel something so you can get closer to your outcomes, and also the people listening to you make better decisions about you and your content. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Right, great. So a lot of this will be me sharing stuff with you, right? But after each element, after each section, or actually not, if you have a question or something you want to share or something you want to challenge me on, or there's something that you feel you want to share with me and everybody else, you can do that as well, okay? So we don't have to make this just me sharing with you. You can share stuff as well, all right? As Demo mentioned, I've got a little bit of experience. So I've lived in 7 countries altogether. I've worked in about 32 or so. I work with accelerators, incubators, I work with founders and startups in different areas of the world, in the UAE, in America, in actually Asia as well, and also Europe. And it's really good to have time to do things with Damir and ICT Jupania and what you're doing here in Split. All right, so let's get cracking. I will show you right now. This is what we're going to go through today. You might want to have, like this young lady here, a pen, a paper, and she's like Jack Pervak in the front here, ready to take notes. You might want to have that by you. In the second part of the session, you'll probably need it, because I'm going to ask you to do something. You don't have to at all, but it'd be great if you do, right? That'll be in the second part. It's up to you, all right? So this is what we're going to go through. I'm not going to read that out. You can read it for yourself. Happy? And then we go on to these areas here, all right? So again, whether you are a startup founder preparing a pitch, whether you're somebody who has to share your messages with more people at work, in your career, online, whatever it is, what you hear today will help you be more aware and help you have more confidence and build that strength and that skill that I'm sharing with you now. And remember, this skill that I'm sharing with you now, everybody can do it, all right? It's not about somebody who has great confidence can do this. It's about somebody who is smarter, thinking and more aware of what they're sharing and the messages they're going to share at that specific time, right? So when you pitch at that moment, when you share your messages in front of a crowd at that moment, that is the moment that counts. The other moments, they don't count so much because they're not high stakes. When you're pitching, it's high stakes. Okay. Is that clear? It is. I'm sure it is. Right. So the first thing is, I'm going to ask you a question, right? Mindset, how we think, what happens up here, how important do you think this is when it comes to sharing our messages in front of a crowd, like right now what I'm sharing to you, or in the future when you have to pitch more, it's a high stake pitch or presentation. How important do you think that is? I'd love you to shout out and tell me.
Very much.
Very why?
Very much.
Why is it really important?
Because the mindset is everything that we put out in vocabulary, in the way we move, the way we think. So our energy is something that introduces us before everything, and that comes from our mindset. Absolutely,
absolutely. So how we think, what happens here will dictate everything else. So how we move, how we see ourselves, the story in our head about ourselves, right? The story in our head about the people that are in front of us. The story in our head about how well we are going to pitch and how well it's going to look like and how well people will actually perceive us, right? So if you're not even starting to be reflexive and start to think about up here how things are going to unfold, or your awareness, then it's really difficult to really do things in the right way that's going to actually help you. All great speakers, all great pitchers, all people who have had success in terms of communication, often have thought about it a lot. Thought about it, reflexive. Stuff they don't like, stuff they see about themselves or hear about themselves, maybe they won't like, which is okay. Other things about themselves they'll like, right? So it's really a question of being aware and looking more into yourself, more into what's happening around you and how others perceive you, and you get on that path, and that will start to help. Right? Defining your purpose and value. If I ask you right now, if you have a pitch, who are founders here Who are founders here? If you're a founder, let me know. Great. Okay. Everyone else? Who's everyone else? What are you? Okay, never mind. Don't say anything. So maybe those who are not founders, they can answer this question. In terms of a pitch, if I was to ask you, what's your main objective of that pitch? Whatever the pitch is, the pitch. What do you want to achieve from that pitch? I'd love to hear what you think.
Get an investment.
Sorry?
Get an investment.
Get investment. It never happens straight after the pitch. Never happens. It will never, probably never ever. No one's ever going to go bang. Here's a bunch of money for you. Ever. They're not going to do that, right? But eventually, ultimately, down the line, yes, hopefully, right? But before that, at the end of the pitch, what do you want? What is it you want to achieve? Tell me.
Their interest.
Their interest. Yeah. Okay. Awareness, okay. Somebody could be aware of something, doesn't mean that.
To make them feel something.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You want to show them use case that your product or your company actually can deliver or has a place on the market.
It's one of the things, one of the elements, letting
You
your
can solve their problem.
solve their problem.
Yeah. With what they
Solve their problem, okay. Solve a problem that many people have. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. These are all absolutely. These are all elements, but there's one main one, and I want you to remember this. One main one that you should all have at the back of your mind whenever you pitch. The number one thing you're looking for, which is really low-hanging fruit. It's really something you can achieve. It's really something you can tangibly achieve, and that is getting people who you're talking to start a conversation with you. All right, it's a conversation. You want people, you're right, interest.
Participate.
And you want people to be aware of what you're doing and take note of what you're doing and like what you're doing and to understand the traction and how your service or product relates to the market and how that's going to expand. But at the end of it, at the end of your pitch, you want them thinking, I kind of like this. I'm curious about this. I want to know more. I want to have a conversation. Right? And a real good way of really judging, evaluating how well you've done is seeing how many conversations you have afterwards. All right? A conversation afterwards, that's where you get to have potentially one-on-one, potential meeting, which leads to another meeting, which leads to 10 more meetings, 50 more meetings, and then what this man said here, investment, right? If that ever happens. Maybe it won't, but it will probably lead on towards that goal. But again, remember, it's all about a conversation. So how do you do that? You have to get people to feel something, get people to feel curious, get people to feel like there's some excitement there. Because if there's no excitement, probably there's something else, which is hesitation, right? Hesitation and excitement. One thing to do, again, everybody, if you're pitching and you've got your pitch deck ready, a great way when you start practicing that pitch in front of other people, right? Share with them your pitch and ask them to write down the things that make them feel hesitant, like hesitation, the things that make them feel, actually, there's something not quite right here, and the things that make them feel excited, the things that make them feel curious. As you keep doing this to one person, 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, the more people in your circles that you share your pitch with before you actually do it, you'll learn and see the things that are giving hesitation, and you'll learn to take those out, and the things that are bringing excitement and curiosity, and you'll learn to keep those in. All right? So, back to this. This is all about identifying really the value you're going to share, okay, and getting those conversations at the end. If it's not a pitch, again, if you're not pitching, again, whatever presentation you have, even if you have a 5-minute chat on a webinar, a 5-minute call to your team, 10 minutes at work in front of a group of people, in front of your team or somebody else's, a keynote speech, a TEDx speech, right? So as a TEDx coach, right, this plays such an important part in our preparation when we're building the script and we're building that final objective, right? So really understanding how you want your audience to feel when you've finished. how you want your audience to feel when you finished your talk. Is it curiosity? Is it excitement? Is it something that's going to make them shift their mindset of something? This is all about a change. We need to make a change. It's a pitch does the same thing. Change their perspective or start to change their perspective. Doesn't necessarily mean they completely, fully agree with you. It's really difficult to do that. But you can take them one step at a time to where your perspective is and get them on board with you. So think about how you want them to feel, how you want them to think differently about an idea, and often take action. What's the action you want them to take? Right, pitch. Your call to action, almost every founder I work with when we talk about pitching, this is an element which always needs to come in there, right? And that's your call to action. What do you want to tell your audience to do? I'm going to ask you now. What do you think as a founder pitching? You've done a great pitch, put it all together, you've got all the elements like you need to have. Sounds good, you're looking good, you feel good, great idea. What is your call to action to the people listening? What could that be?
So they share.
Huh?
They share our idea or whatever.
Okay, you've done a great pitch. What would you say to your audience who are listening? Your call to action. What do you want them to do?
Connect, reach out, lead.
Exactly. So again, it goes back to what? The conversation. Tell them. Right at the end. Listen, you've heard, I've been speaking for the last 5 minutes. You understand more about the ideas and the perception, the vision we have. You're curious, you'd like to know more. Let's have a chat straight after this, have a coffee, have a chat, and let's see where we can maybe collaborate. Or something like this. You're curious, you'd like to know more, or maybe you know someone who's curious and like to know more, right? Because maybe they don't like it, but they know somebody that does. Maybe they've got the best fit for you in their circle, on LinkedIn, in their close circle of friends or business partners or whoever. So you need to tell your audience to come and talk to me. Come and let's have that conversation. Even, and remember this, even if they're skeptical, even if they're not convinced, that's okay. Because you want them to ask you the questions. You want them to come up to you and go, listen, I don't think it's going to work because of this, and this, and I think it's a bad idea, and I think that. Why on earth do you think it's going to work? That is what? That's a conversation, right? Maybe not the conversation that you want originally, but it starts. That's where you start, and then you get an opportunity to switch it. Okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense? So you're defining the purpose, the value. If it's not a pitch, the purpose, the value, what you want people to feel. What do you want them to go away with? How do you want them to think differently? As soon as you have that really clearly, crystal clear, then it's so easier, everything you're doing can go towards that, okay? Right, bang. Presence and charisma, right. What is that? What's presence and charisma? If I ask you that, what would you say?
Space in the room. Space that you're manifesting.
The space that you're manifesting, the energy you have, yeah, okay.
Being in the moment.
Being in the moment,
Focused on everything
that's
you're
right.
saying, the people you are seeing.
You got it. You two are great. I'm sure there's others who want to say something. Maybe not. It's okay. You don't have to. Stay at the back. But yeah, absolutely. So presence and charisma. It's often we think of this as like, okay, presence, charisma. Somebody who has these is somebody that just walks into the room and we know we're attracted to them. We know we're not attracted physically, not sexually attracted. Hello. Come on in. Yeah, not sexually attracted, but I mean when we see somebody, we just want to listen to them. Yeah, we take note of them. Yeah, because it could be many things. It could be the way they walk. It could be the way they sound as soon as they start speaking. It could be the perfume they're wearing. Could be anything at all, right? So we tend to think of that as something really high and really big and really strong. I want you to think of it as something really simple that all of us have, right? Think about confidence and think about warmth. Think about those two things. Just think about those things. Confidence. Think of a time where you were confident, where you were feeling really good, right? You didn't worry about what other people thought of you. Judgment wasn't an issue because you're confident about what you're doing or where you were, how you felt, the people around you. Think about warmth. Sharing that warmth with somebody you know. Think about a good friend. Somebody that you have coffee with nearly every day and talk about gossip or whatever it is, I don't know. Or a buddy of yours that you speak to about stuff that really means a lot to you, right? And they listen to you. In that warmth, people listen, don't they? So listening, again, is a really, really good skill. Being able to really listen and really be aware of what's happening, together with the warmth and the confidence, can really help you kind of hit this presence and this charisma, all right? I'm not asking you to be like Bill Clinton or anybody else. Who else maybe? Beyonce, yeah. Yeah, you've got to be like Beyonce. All the single ladies. Right, so it's not about that, but it's just about being bold. I think it's a lot about being bold. So you hear what I'm saying to you, and you hear my phrases that I'm sharing. Hopefully they sound like I believe them, right? Hopefully they sound like I'm not doubting what I'm saying. I'm not giving you any indication that I'm doubting. I'm not saying things like, oh, I think, or maybe, or I'm not quite sure about that. I'm giving you indications and signals that I'm bold. And again, it's not about being like really like strong and like masculine, and it's just about being sure about the things you're sharing. Okay? Does that make sense? When people share messages, and when they're bold about them and they're confident about those messages, we tend to listen more. We tend to believe them more as well, yeah. We tend to listen more and believe more. And we tend to give more credibility to people who are more sure about what they're saying. Okay? So what does that mean? Startups, founders, think really about, why you're doing what you're doing. Really believing in what you're sharing. If you're giving a presentation or sharing information or data, it's difficult when you've just been given that information and you have to share it because it's not yours. But getting to know it, really understanding it, and really understanding what it means to you can really help. Okay? These are things I just want you to, we're going to jump in and out of them, right? We're going to jump in and we've just jumped into this. We're going to jump out of it shortly. But I just want you to remember this, all right? Because these are the small things that make a difference. TEDx speech, a TEDx speaker. So working with TEDx speakers, global TEDx speakers, the point of them giving their speech is to get people to think differently about an idea. Ideas worth spreading, right? So great ideas, think differently about the idea, which is very different from pitching, because pitching is not just about the idea that you have that's going to solve some kind of a problem, an issue, a pain point, but it's more about you. When people are listening to you when you pitch and they're thinking about potential investment or potential collaboration, it's more about you. TEDx speaker, they're not judging the TEDx speaker, they're listening and they're listening to the idea and they're judging the idea. They're judging the talk, which is cool, right? A pitcher, a founder, when you're pitching, they're judging you. They want to see you. They want to hear you. They want to see how well you understand the problem. How does the problem relate to you? Whether you're somebody people will actually like to work with, right? You might have a great idea, but you might be an arrogant asshole, right? Right? And people and investors, and they see that, they can feel that straight away, regardless of maybe the best idea in the world. because somebody else will just take that idea, somebody else who's better to work with, and they can collaborate better with, right? So remember that as well. If you're a founder, if you're pitching, the actual format of a pitch is often more about you and the perception they have of you as somebody to go through with that idea, to take that idea forward, to change the idea. Somebody that is going to be open to criticism, open to change an idea, yeah, to move to a different tangent, different angle. Okay? Right. Right. Emotional awareness. Emotional awareness. What do I mean by emotional awareness? I'll show you right now. Here we go. Right. So, thank you. Can you see? Can you see? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, we're making decisions all the time, right? We're making decisions all the time about everything. What we wear in the morning, where we're going to sit when you came in here, what clothes you're going to wear this morning, what you're going to do after this. We're making decisions constantly, right? And we're giving out we're also simultaneously giving out signals where people are making decisions about us and what we do and what we say, right? Would you agree? Constantly, we're giving out signals, right? My question to you is, these signals that we're sharing, how aware are you of these signals? You don't have to answer this, right? Don't answer it. I know you wanted to. So how well aware are you of these signals? The more, all of this is essentially being more aware of these signals will help you get closer to where you want to be, closer to that better perception that other people have of you, right? So, what we wear, the colour of our hair, the way we brush or comb our hair, our shoes, the way we walk, the way we move, how we sound, how I look at you, this shirt here, all of these you're making judgments on, and you're making judgments based on these signals, right? And all these signals, let me tell you, are based mainly on the emotional side of your brain, right? These are emotional decisions. Now you might think to yourself, okay, we've got the logic side of the brain. I'm sure a lot of you know this. Logic side of your brain, emotional side of your brain. Most of us would say we make logic decisions. We think we do. Most of us would say we do. But in fact, before we get to the door of logic, or part of our brain, we have to get through the door of emotions. Remember that. Always getting through to the logic side, we have to get through the emotional door first. What are the things that, would you say, trigger our minds or our feelings or our emotions in terms of the signals? What are the things, would you say, that make us make a decision, a stronger decision? What would you say? Just shout out, what do you think?
If you're inspired by the idea.
Okay, if you're inspired. Okay, think about the behaviors that we do. Think about, as a person, what we do. What kind of things would... Any ideas? You two are you've all got something here. Huh? Yeah, okay.
Gesticulation, posture.
Yeah. So there's many things. So what we see, movement, you'd agree. Smell is a big part as well, right? Yeah? No? Yeah, it is. It is, definitely. Absolutely. All those senses, absolutely. But listen to this. There's two areas, right? Sound and stories, which hit those emotions. Although it's not, stories isn't a sense, obviously. But sound and stories, those two things, these things are like rated high above the list in terms of the things that make us drive a decision, right? So we make decisions on everything. The colour, the blue here, right? We made a decision about that. We got a feeling about that, right? Right? The colour of our hair, made a decision about that. What I'm wearing, these, you make a decision about that, right? You're also making a decision about how I sound. Yeah? Sound plays such a big part in how we make our decisions about things and people. And the sound related to people are what? It's the voice. Your voice. Our voice plays such a big part in all of this, right? Think about, has anyone seen the Bond film? Has anyone seen Bond?
The new one?
Yeah. No? You've seen the Bond one? Right, okay. Even if you've seen this one or the other Bond films or any big blockbuster film, the biggest thing that a producer will put will know that will make or break the film is not the actors, is not the money he puts into the sets, is not the story even, but it's the music that accompanies the film. It's 100%. When you hear, Bond, maybe you're not interested in Bond, are you? No, anyway, I am. Okay, listen, next time you listen to a film, listen, Netflix, listen to the sounds that come through, right? These are designed to get us to feel things, these emotions. We can do the same. We can't speak like a Bond film, but what we can do, we can use our voice in a way that can help people make better decisions about us, okay? We'll talk about that later in an element in terms of voice awareness, all right? The other area is stories, right? Again, that's a section a little bit later on about storytelling and how we can really tap into stories, because these are the things that get us feeling something straight away. Stories are, in terms of storytelling, I'll talk about it later, but literally hitting a story or starting to tell emotions with stories, this is how people are going to listen to you more. This is how people are going to you're going to gain their attention more. Because no one needs to listen to you. You don't need to listen to me now. You've got lots of other things to do. You could be watching another Bond film, or all the others. You could be doing loads of other things, but you haven't. You've decided to come here. Why? Because you want something, right? You hopefully, I don't know, I imagine you want to get something valuable from this. You want to take something from this that you can use, right? Right? So what do I have to do? I have to give you this. I have to give you something for your time, right? Don't ever think anyone deserves to listen to you. Never think that. You start thinking that, you become arrogant in the minds of the people looking at you, and then it will go down the wrong road. So you've got to gain people's respect, gain people's attention. One of those ways, through stories. Another way is shaping your voice in a way that people will start to listen to you. Okay? Just going back on this, remember these two things. Remember these two things. You might not remember everything I say tomorrow, well, after this, maybe straight after. Maybe you've forgotten everything I've said 10 minutes ago, I don't know. But in a couple of days, you might not remember. Okay, listen, Bond film, right? Bond. We might not remember everything that happened, but we remember how we felt when we start thinking about the emotions that were connected with the film, right? So we start to think about those emotions. We remember feelings quicker than we ever do words or messages. All right? Stories come into that as well. We can remember stories which help us remember the emotions. All right? So this is what I'm talking about in terms of emotional awareness. This isn't a self-help session. This is just, if you haven't done it before, it's always a good thing to start thinking and reflecting about how you're showing up, how you're feeling about things, how people feel when they hear you, when they look at you, right? What is the outcome you want to get closer to? All those things play its part in emotional awareness, okay? If you have any, remember, any questions or anything you want to say, you can do that, okay? Everyone's like, okay, I'm not saying anything.
Your voice and your stories.
You like my voice and my stories? Well, thank you so much. Right, so there we are. Remember this as well. We create the emotional temperature. We create. The person speaking creates that. Pitching, founder creates that. The host of Shift. If you saw Shift, well, I was presenting Shift. It was my job to create that emotional temperature. Yes, I felt anxious. Yes, I felt a bit nervous. A lot of people. 13,000. We had 10,000, how many? 10,000 online, 3,000 in front of me. I always get nervous before big events. But in my mind, I'm saying to myself, it's up to me. I am creating this emotional temperature. So if I come across as somebody who's bold, who feels good, who wants to make other people feel good, they're going to feel that as well. If I start to feel and have these doubts, maybe it's not going to go well, maybe this isn't going to be a great show, maybe I'm going to look like an idiot. If I start thinking of those things, whatever we think about, remember, whatever we think about, and this is so true, whatever we think a lot about, it gets bigger. Yeah? So a worry, an issue, we've all got probably right now, I don't want you to think about those worries, but I'm sure we've all got one kind of something shit that's in our minds or in our hearts right now that's happening, right? If we think about that a lot and maybe we think about it too much, it gets bigger, and that's where worry starts to spread. Also the other side, if we think about something that is good, that we want, that we're trying to get, that we're trying to achieve, that we're trying to get closer towards, we think of that and that will get bigger. And sometimes, often, the universe has its way of kind of working things out for us, doesn't it? Yeah. Taking us to the right place. Okay. Boom. Movement and gestures. Movement and gestures. So again, how we move, how our body moves, even just by walking, somebody walking, the way they walk, we judge them, don't we? We can judge them straight away, especially if there's something odd. And we create a story in our own heads about that person, right? So think about this. Think about royalty, right? Think about the Queen. Think about presidents. Think about people of high stature. Think about the Queen, right? And think about the movement, right? Is there a lot of movement?
No.
Is there a lot of movement? Yes, the Queen doesn't move that way. Yes, jumping up and down. So usually with people of high credibility or high status, their movement is not a lot of movement. Certainly body movement, right? So think about president, think about prime minister, think about politicians here. Often not a lot of movement. There's never a lot of movement anyway, but there's not a lot of movement there, right? Opposite, think about a clown. Think about somebody with a lot of energy. Think about, I don't know, a teenager who's 16 and at a party or whatever, right? Lots of movement, a lot more movement, right? So, very strong tip for everyone whenever you're presenting at the beginning. So at the beginning, when they see you, when they hear you, that's the moment people are making their high judgment of you, right? They make that snap judgment, whether they want to listen to you, whether they want to keep listening, whether they think you have credibility, whether they think you're an idiot, whether they think this isn't worth listening to. But in that very short moment at the beginning, that's when people are making that snap judgment of you, right? Really important, at that moment, try to keep your body as still as you can. Not necessarily your arm gestures, but your body. So your body. So you come out and you look like you're in control. You feel, or you give the perception that you are in control. Which is often the opposite, isn't it? Because we're not. Often at the beginning, that's when we're feeling anxious. That's when we're feeling like, we've got to get this right, right? So at the beginning of, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a talk, whether it's a TEDx speech, or whatever, whether it's a speech at a conference, whether it's a pitch in front of a high state, even not high state situation, just come out and make sure that your 2 feet are down, body straight. And do you notice what else I'm doing with this up from here upwards? What am I doing? What have you noticed from the beginning that I've been doing? Have you noticed anything? Have you been looking at me?
Speaking, obviously.
Speaking, yes. I'm doing something else.
You've been making gestures.
I've been making a lot of gestures, yeah, absolutely. So you can see those gestures, absolutely. You've constant gestures to you. Also, what else have I been giving you? I've been giving you something.
You're always looking at us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always looking at you. My attention and my feeling of presence is not somewhere else. It's not even inward. Most of the time, it's outward. It's you. I'm looking at you. I'm like, I look at you sometimes when you speak or when you don't speak. Sometimes you, sometimes at the back. I'm trying to sort of see everyone. And even though, so I'm talking to you now, right? And I'm looking, when we think about what we're going to say, and we don't know what we're about to say, often what do? We actually look low left or low right, right? We look away from people when we think. So think from when you think, if you're just having a chat with somebody, having a coffee, and you're thinking about something, you probably wouldn't look at their eyeballs all the time. You'd be like thinking, looking out, looking away, looking over there. But me, right now, as I'm talking to you, I may not know what I'm going to say exactly next, but I continue to keep showing you my eyes. I'm still looking at you. And when I look at you, it's the biggest thing you can do to get somebody's respect. It's true. You might think, how do you get their respect? It's a really, really simple thing. People look at you, not staring at you, but if they look at you and they talk to you, they have an interest in you. They want to see you. They're present and they're looking at you, right? Again, a strong tip, certainly at the beginning. Body, strong, calm. Afterwards, then you can move around. After that moment of when people have made their judgment of you, then start to move. That's good. Movement is good because it shakes things up. Anything that shakes things up shakes our brain up, and we need our brain to keep moving. Because if I just stood here, and I just like hands down, and I just like said this everything in the same tone of voice, and I was even just by looking at you and just saying all this, after a while you would just like probably fall asleep or walk off, right? Or watch Bond on your phone or something, yeah? So I have to keep moving. But at the beginning, straight, calm, credible, especially under pressure. Especially when you're under pressure. Now, we all get in these moments of being under pressure. At work, right? When we're sharing presentations, when we're speaking to a crowd, even when we're not speaking to a crowd and somebody said something to us, or criticized us, or given us these signals which don't make us feel good, right? Under pressure, really keeping that calmness and really keeping that steadiness can really give this perception of credibility and also that you're in control. There's one other thing I'm doing to make sure I'm staying in control of my body and my voice. There's one thing I'm doing, and I've been doing it all the time. I'm doing it right now. Doing it right now. Do you know what that is? Have you got any idea what that is? Do you care what that is?
Control of volume, sound.
I'm controlling my voice. How can I control my voice? How can I control that I'm steady? There's one thing I'm doing, and I've been doing it from the beginning. The most confident person in a room at any one time, or the person that feels most in control of themselves at any one time, is the person who has the best or doesn't have to be the best, but is a person who is fully in control of his or her breathing, right? So I'm in control of my breathing. My breath is coming in. The quality of my voice is only dependent on the quality of the air coming in and coming out. The quality of my movement. If I'm not in control of my movement, it means that I'm feeling nervous, anxious, and my body is not getting enough air to help me think clearly to keep my body calm, right? Breathing helps us in so many ways. A lot of you here, I'm sure, into meditation, yoga, or lots of things which help us. It's not rocket science, but breathing can really help you to really give this perception, even when you're not, even when you're actually anxious. Like Shift, if you saw Shift, just before come on, my heart rate was like boom, 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 boom. So I had to really start to, like a couple of minutes before, really kind of calm down, really get calm. And then I was ready to go on, right? Because my body was ready, my breathing was good, my mind was clear. This is going to be good. Emotional temperature, and then I shared that, right? So your gestures, your body has to be calm. Talking about gestures, what do you notice about my gestures? Anything that you've noticed I've been showing you constantly?
Your hand.
Hands, my hand. You always see my hands.
Like you accent with your hand.
I almost use them as battons, as certain things I'm saying, I use them in that way. When sometimes I haven't really got anything specific to say, I'd still use them in an open way, right? So you can clearly see what's happening all the time. This gives you this impression that this is almost a predictor as well. You're predicting, your brain predicts that I'm going to do this, right? And what I've said is connected with how bold I'm saying it, right? Like how confident I am about saying things. I'm not saying everything you say, you have to have gestures. Try this, not right now, try this. When people see your hands and see what they're doing, it gives them a better engagement between you and the listener, okay? And people can remember things better. And they have a more positive image of you. Same thing. So if I was to say to you right now, remember that many things we can do with our hands, and they can help us really get more engagement with the people that are listening to us. I just use my voice, nothing else. Say the same thing. Remember, we can do many things with our hands, many things with our gestures that can help us get a better connection between you, the audience, and me, the speaker. Right? Did you see the difference? There's actually a big difference between those two things, just by using my hands. Odd, but true. Right. We are...
Maybe one question.
Yeah, sure.
What kind of advice you can give to someone who has fear of looking someone in the eyes or at the crowd?
But that's exactly what you need to do. So at the beginning, your breathing helps you calm down.
But you know, there are some people that have constant fear of looking in someone's eyes.
Well, listen, yeah, okay, if you stare at them, yeah. But so right now, what I'm doing right now, let's say I had this same fear. Let's say or somebody had the same fear, right? When I'm looking at you, I know people are looking at me. And the people that have that fear probably have anxiety because of judgment. Would you agree? Probably. Because they have the fear of judgment of others. And there's many other things that come into that. Fear of rejection, fear of looking like a fool, fear of not connected with the right tribe, right? So when I look at you, I have to look at you. Because if I don't, your perception of me is just going to go away. It's not going to be strong. So I'm going to look at you, all right? I'm going to deliberately look at you. Short, I'm looking at you short. I'm not looking at you long, am I? I'm kind of like, I'm just sort of jumping. And I'm happy to do that, right? The more you do that, the more you practice that, and the more you understand that when people judge you, They have the right to judge you. You can't do anything about it. You can complain, you can feel bad, right? But you have the right to judge. Would you agree? Do people have the right to judge you? Would you agree? People have the right to not like who you are. Would you agree? Yeah. People have the right not, for those of you that have businesses, people have the right, other companies have the right not to do business with you. People have the right not to like you. You right now, if you, after this, you said to yourself, that was rubbish, that wasn't good at all, and I didn't get any value from this at all, you have the right to do that. And for me, I have to accept that. I have to say to myself, that's okay. Something I did wrong, something I have to do better next time, but everybody has the right not to like you. And everybody has the right not to listen to you, right? Nobody's going to give you that. Nobody will just give you that. You have to gain that. Many celebrities feel, they confuse it because they feel like everybody already gives them this wave of respect. But in fact, we have to gain their respect, right? So, going back to your question, looking at people, even though you might feel fearful of that, you need to do that. You need to do it in short, you can do it short, sharp pockets. All right? I don't have to look at you a long time, right? And let people judge you. Getting really comfortable with letting people judge you is halfway of the battle. Whenever you're feeling anxiety, when you're in front of a crowd, public speaking, let people judge you. They have the right to judge you. And getting used to that and knowing, okay, well, you know, think about your judgment. We judge people all the time, don't we? Yeah? And we've judged people, I don't want to listen to that person, or I don't think he's good, or I don't want to listen to her, or whatever. We're doing the same thing as other people. But the difference is, we should be trying to accept that and feel comfortable with that and know if people are going to listen to us, if we want people to listen to us, we need to give them something. We need to get their attention. We need to start giving them signals that tap into emotions, I'll talk about it later, into those emotions, using stories, using those signals of emotion to get people to feel something and relate to it, and then they start listening more. Okay? Right, listen, we are going to have a break. Should we have a break? Yeah, let's have a break, yeah. And then we'll wake up. Yeah, let's have a break. 10 minutes, 10 minutes or so, and then we'll start back in here, yeah? Cool. So, we finished off with movement and gestures, right? So 3 things again to remember. So, calm gives you the perception of being in control. And if you look like you're in control, or people feel you're in control, people are going to listen to you more. Right? You'd agree with that, right? So just try in anything you do when it comes to speaking, not just speaking, but I'm talking about speaking because it's what I do. It's what I help people with. Being in control of your breath, being in control of your body, taking time, and you're listening to me now, you've listened to me already, and you can probably detect a few things in the way that I speak and the way that I share my messages, right, through my voice. We'll talk about that very shortly in the element of voice, right? But here, keeping calm gives you control. Own your own space. Own your own space, right? Okay. Okay, so think about somebody who shows high confidence. Somebody who shows high confidence, how will they show that in their body? Tell me. Or show me. Show me. Show me. I'll ask you to do it now, right? So don't worry, no one else can see you. apart from people behind you, but they're not really seeing you, but I can see you. I want you now in your chair, right? Show me high confidence. Show me you're somebody with even arrogance, even like high confidence, arrogance of how confident you are. Go for it. Show me. Just show it in your chair. Please. Anybody. Really high confidence. Really high confidence. You haven't changed this, is that it? You haven't done it? I'm confident before. All right. Okay, right. Okay, here. Do what you're doing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is really what I'm getting at. So the more space we have, the more space we take up, often shows us that we have more confidence, right? So if I was like this, I'd be like this, or even like this, even like arrogant like this kind of thing, yeah? Or like if I've got another chair here or a sofa here, like this, yeah? When we're on holiday, when we're feeling good, how do we sit? Like some of us like, well, maybe you don't, do you? I don't. And you do. So some of them like this. So this is going overboard as high confidence, but what I'm trying to say is we take up more space. That doesn't mean when you pitch you take up more space, but the space around you, it's yours. The space around you is yours. Opposite. Do the opposite for me now. Can you show me body language, sitting in your chair, of somebody with very low confidence at that particular time, right? So just right now, just show me low confidence. Can you do that? Introvert, and you're worried about what people think of you. You're being judged all the time, and you just want to. Yeah. So here, your head is slightly down, right? So we get smaller, like a hamster, like a rabbit, right? Get smaller. That's right. Hands down. You're holding yourself. We often hold ourselves. So touching ourselves is a soother. So we want to soothe ourselves, right? And we're smaller. Everything about us is smaller. Legs across, maybe down slightly, right? Yeah? That's the thing. So if we want to show or give a perception that we're comfortable in our own shoes, that we're comfortable at that moment. Remember, all of this is not about doing this all the time, because it's not. Confidence is not something that we have all the time. Most people you might think they do, but they don't, right? So it's just at certain moments. And pitching is a one-off moment or presenting, and you need to have that, right? It helps you if you have it. So your space, my space is what? It's about here, isn't it? It's not here. It's not here. I'm not like, but I'm using my space here, right? And you need to do the same. Question I had earlier from this gentleman here, he asked me, how do you use your gestures constantly, like, what do you say, like traffic signals, like a traffic warden, yeah? They're quite bold. Yes, they are. And you notice there's a space here and a space here under my arms, right? So they're not like that. So we see some people when they pitch or when they present like this, right? And that gives a different impression than this. So if I'm talking to you like this, and I'm sharing some ideas about different things, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say to you right now, but I'm saying things as I'm thinking, I'm looking at you. I've got a space here, and I'm taking up my space around me. Remember that. Your space can help you, or help your listeners have a stronger perception of you, of somebody that's in control. Okay? And being bold and focused, as we've already heard. We will move on. We'll skip number 6 because I want to really get on to these last points. Really, it's really important for these points here. Voice awareness. Right. What have you noticed about what you've heard with my voice?
There's no tremor.
There's no tremor.
Capture, there's no.
Okay.
There's no yelling.
There's no yelling.
No insecurity.
Aha, so it sounds like there's no insecurity. So I'm quite confident I'm quite clear and comfortable with the signals and messages I'm sharing. Okay? Okay? Very clear.
There's no fear
No fillers like ums, ahs, x. Sometimes there are, but most of the time there isn't. And I explain how I haven't got many, and you can do the same, right? So if you hear my voice, a voice can tell you everything. Voice can tell you everything you need to know about someone. Not everything, completely, but it tells you so many things about how they're feeling at that point. So if it was a bit croaky, you could hear that maybe I'm not getting enough air in, and maybe I have anxiety, and so I need to breathe more, because the quality of my breath is not good. If the quality of my breath is good, then the quality of my voice is good. How steady is my voice? Or what do you think? Tell me. Pretty steady. Pretty steady. Yeah. It's quite steady, yeah. It's quite. So, is it slow or fast, or what's the speed?
Depending on the message.
So sometimes it goes faster, sometimes it's slower. So there's a mix, right? There's a mix. How am I? Am I shouting? Am I yelling? What am I doing with my voice? How am I projecting my voice? Am I projecting my voice?
Not shouting.
I'm not shouting. Okay, where is the sound coming from? Right, okay. Right, this time you're going to do this, right? And I don't care if you don't want to do it, because stand up. Come on, stand up. Yeah. That's right. Bond girl as well. Right, so this is what I want you to do, all right? So where the voice is coming from right now when I'm speaking to you, it's coming, can you see me? Can you all see me? Can you all see me? Yep. Shuffle if you can't. Great. The voice, my voice, is coming not from up here, but it's actually coming from down here, right? It's coming from down here. Now, when you speak, most of us, when we speak, most of us actually haven't thought about where the sound is coming from, right? Because most of us are change. So most of us speak like this. It's coming from up here. And that's right now, the voice is coming from up here. And I'm looking at you at the back, I'm trying to get my voice across, and so it's kind of, it feels like it's straining now, right? Because it's coming from here. Now, I take a deep breath, and the air goes down to here, and it's coming from here now. Right, what is the muscle that's getting that sound out? I'll show you right now. You're going to find out what that muscle is right now. Hands, just like Dami, you're doing it exactly. You almost knew what I was going to say. Put your hands like this, right? So on your hips, put it on your hips, above your hips, on the kind of that kind of flabby bit here, the love handles or whatever you want to call them, right there. And I want you to do this, we can do it all together, okay? So something like 8 times shh. So it's like shh, okay? So we do it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shh, 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 shh. Is that 8? I don't know. Anyway, when you did that, what did you feel? Was it kind of going like that? Was it kind of going ch, ch, ch? That is the muscle. That is the muscle that's bringing that air up. That's pushing that sound out. Now you're pushing. When you do a shh, you're actually pushing it. It shouldn't hurt. It shouldn't feel bad. But that is the muscle. We'll try that again, but just to show you, you don't really need a lot of air to push this out. I want you to do the same thing, but do a long shh like this. So 3, 2, 1. Shh. And then naturally it goes. Can you do that again? Okay. So this is not a competition. Who can do the longest? I don't care. But this is just to show you that your muscle is quite a good muscle there that you can use, right? So 3, 2, 1. Air in. And then just do a shh, hands on here, and then when it finishes, and the air goes out. Somebody, 5 minutes later, shh. Okay, sit down for me. Thanks so much. So that when I'm speaking to you now, that is where it's coming from. It's coming from here. Change. So if I was to speak to you like the same thing, but up here, can you hear the difference? There is a difference. And now I'm struggling because I have to keep getting the breath in, and it's taking a lot more time to get the breath down here and then back up here. Yeah? It's like shorter here. So I get the breath in here, and it comes out from here. Now it's coming from here. Have you noticed? Have you also noticed after each phrase what happens? What am I doing? Am I just talking? No, what am I doing? I'm talking, I say a phrase, then I stop. Almost like a small comma or a full stop. Small pause. Then I start again with another phrase or another couple of phrases, and then I stop right now. Then I say something else, and I can keep doing that. But if you notice what I'm doing every time I pause, you probably don't know, you probably can't see. But what I'm doing, I'm taking a small air in. Air's coming in. Air is coming in. I only need that short bit of air coming in to give you another phrase. So what's my strategy? It's really simple. Phrase, pause, comma. Really short one, little breath. Phrase, pause, breath. And just constantly like that. Again, I can keep going, so I'm still on the same breath now, and I can still keep talking like we did the shush, and I can kind of stop there. Then I'm ready to say the next phrase, which was a really short one, and then the breath comes in, and then carry on. Can you see what I mean? If you certainly in your pitch or when you present, and when you're speaking to crowds, so many things this is good for. Because you have breath in, it calms you down every time you take those breaths in. So I can do 10 minutes, and I've had lots of air coming in all the time. Also, another thing you mentioned earlier on, the filler words. Filler words. So when we speak, is that air going out or is that air coming in? Out. So when we speak, when we make sounds. When we're speaking, singing, talking, anything coming out of our mouth that's a sound is air coming out. If you're breathing in, you can't make sound. So if you're breathing in, you cannot physically go or or have a filler word. You can't. Does that make sense? And so this is a recipe to reduce those filler words, right? So the air is just a phrase. If I was to ask you now, I won't ask you it, but if I was to ask you now, just give me like 3 or 4 sentences about what you did today. This could be a good way to do it. So you start speaking and say, okay, this is what I did today. This morning I went for a coffee with my friend. And then after a couple of coffees, then I went back home and decided to do some work. After that, I decided to move up, whatever. But you can hear there's a phrase, pause, right? Yeah.
When you take pause, do you deliberately take a breath, or it's some kind of automatically?
Well, it's probably automatic for me now, but I would suggest you just think about it, but you don't have to, it's not something that you can do it very easily and it will come natural. You just keep your mouth open and just think of taking in more breath. You can't even see it. When I'm doing, you cannot even see that I'm taking breath, but I am. There's air coming in because I physically would not be able to keep talking. Yeah? Okay, quickly on. Here we go. So again, voice, strongest influencer, the biggest thing. Your voice plays such a big part in how people perceive you and how they're going to listen to you and whether they like you and whether they think you have credibility, right? So there are many things that we could do a whole day on voice, right? We haven't got the time for that. But these are just a handful of things to remember and think about and be aware of, especially when you're presenting, right? So We know people that speak fast, right? Yeah, we all know someone that speaks really fast. And that person, or those people, probably, I'm just guessing, maybe completely wrong, but maybe they tend to, they're not great listeners, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know. They just tend not to be, right? So I'm going to try and speak as fast as I can now, try and put as many words as I can into this phrase, and I can't do it. It's really difficult to do that because I have to start thinking blah, 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 right? That was me trying to speak fast. How was my tone? Was it down here? Was it down up here? Or was it kind of up here? How was my tone when I spoke fast? Did you listen to me or listen to someone? Listen to your headphones?
No, I want to take a picture of that.
Right. Okay. So it was a high. It's high. So when we speak fast, what happens to our tone? It goes higher. So the more we speak, if we speak a lot, right, and we speak fast, it's a high tone. If we start to, so what I'm going to try and do now, I'm going to start speaking fast, and then I'm going to start to slow down slightly, but all I'm doing is slowing down. I'm doing nothing else but thinking about how I'm going to share my words slower. I'm not sharing as many words as I did before. And you can hear, as I keep speaking and get slower, what happens to the tone? It goes lower. The lower the tone, not always, but it tends to, a lower tone, certainly in business, certainly when we're listening to somebody, usually increases the credibility. And it's more appealing to hear. It's better for our ears. Lower tones are better for our ears, right? So we all know somebody with a squeaky high voice, which isn't always appealing. But how can that person with a squeaky high voice help their listeners? It's not that easy because they have a squeaky high voice and you can't always change that. But what that person can do, they can shape it in a different way. They can slow down slightly. When they slow down, their tone will go down. They pause more air's coming in, and it gives you, the listener, a chance to absorb those messages. When we're presenting, when we're pitching, slowing down slightly will bring that tone down. Your credibility will go up slightly, okay? It will sound better, and you will come across more in control. Now, some of you will say, well, I don't speak fast anyway. That's fine. When we present, we often do. How do we know if we do or don't? We need to see. We need someone to see it, and we need to see it ourselves. Often if we record ourselves, or somebody can see, you can see back a recording of yourself and what you sounded like. This will help. But slowing down is always a good strategy, slower than you normally speak, to help people understand with more ease, and they can absorb and take in lots of messages. You have to, we're here for what? 45 times 2, 90 minutes or so. There's a lot of things I'm sharing. If I didn't pause, you probably think that's too much anyway, but if I didn't pause, you'd have a lot more to kind of figure out and digest. We have to make, you, as a presenter, as somebody sharing messages, we have to make it easy and simple for our listeners, and not confusing, and not too much. Anything which is confusing, certainly in pitching, anything which is confusing will get people to think no, won't get you a yes, or won't get someone curious. If something's confusing, our brains tell us no. That doesn't mean if something is clear, we get a yes. But if something is clear, we increases our chances of a yes than if something's confusing a no. And that goes for everything, right? It goes for our emails, right? It goes for our pitch deck, what it looks like, what people are looking at. It goes for the messages and the structure we're sharing our pitch. Right? If it feels all over the place, if it feels confusing, if it feels like it doesn't flow, in our minds, confusion equals no. Okay? Sorry, there was a question.
What if you have time limits? Should you talk faster or cut the content?
What do you think?
Cut the content?
You got it. Cut the shit. So it's about cutting the shit. So cut the shit, right? So taking out the things that are really, really not bringing value, right? So it's basically, because if you talk faster, because you've got to fit it in, you're still bombarding your listeners. If I have 1 minute to share some ideas with you, I've probably got a lot of things to share. As a startup, as a founder, we've got a lot of things to share, right? We've got a lot of great ideas. We've got a lot of great feelings and excitement about what we're doing because we live it, because it's something which means everything to us. It's our life. And we have to kind of pop it down into something of 5 minutes. The art of all this, the magic of all this, is choosing the right things to share and making it easy for the people listening to understand those bits, to understand those things, right? And this is where storytelling and other areas and using your voice comes into it, okay? Hopefully that helps. So, fast creates intrigue, so I can speed up slightly. Doesn't need to mean that my tone goes up too high, but sometimes I get excited and I can share things in a little bit more faster way. So if I'm building something up, I'm saying this is fantastic, this is great, this is something that you really, really should go for, you can hear less air gives me more excitement, right? Yeah, that's the whole idea of less air coming in gives more excitement, right? Slow, calmer, more in control, higher credibility. Low, again, think of politicians. Do you know any politicians with a high voice?
No.
No. Very rarely. Who? Who? Njonjo. Ko je to?
No, this is a joke. This is a joke.
Was that a joke, Damien? Don't hear. Okay. Anyway, well, generally, politicians do not have high voices, you know, because and if they have got a high voice, they often with a speech coach. So sometimes I've worked with politicians, not here in Croatia, politicians in the past, and we've worked on that perception of the voice and how they sound and what perception people have when they speak, right? So somebody with an annoying voice is annoying, right? They can't help it, but that's the voice they have. They can shape that in a different way. They can work on it, and then they can move in the right direction. Okay, and then high, again, excitement, curiosity, passion. So having a mixture of the elements of these connected with the emotions that you're sharing is good. Remember, a mixture is good. If I just stayed on one. Okay, if I started and I was just always excited, right? Always like, just constantly like excited, like all the time. At the beginning you were like, yeah, this is cool. And then after a few minutes, you probably think, what's up? Has he been drinking? What was it? Was he on drugs? What kind of drugs is he on? And then you'll be thinking, your mind will go off because it's too much of the same thing. If I was slow and calm and really at this tone all the way through and not giving any kind of excitement as I'm talking, always like, you'll fall asleep. After 5 minutes, you'll fall asleep. So we need to shake things up all the time. All the time. Just think about that. And your pitch, looking at your sections of your pitch, especially if it's a presentation as well. When I'm working with TEDx speakers, right? We look at the script. Once it's done, we know what that person's going to say. We know the messages they have. We have the value. We have exactly what we want people to feel. Then we look at sections of the script and we label those sections with an emotion. Right? How do we want people to feel during that section? Is it excitement? Is it curiosity? Is it making people feel scared? Is it making people feel curious? Is it whatever it is? We label an emotion, right? Why? Because the audience, they're going to remember those emotions and then connect it with what you're saying. But maybe even more importantly, you as the speaker, I'm going to remember those sections a lot easier. So that's a really good tip to remembering what you have to say. Label your sections with emotion. Okay? Okay. Okay, slow down, power projection, colour your words. Colour your words. What do I mean by that? Colour your words. So the words you use, they mean something. They always mean something. And the way we say those words means something. And we have to connect the meaning with how we share those messages, right? So you've all heard them before, maybe on a plane, when you're on a plane and you hear the pilot or the chief stewardess, and she'll say something like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board, flight to BA, to Split, hope you're going to enjoy your flight, blah, 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 blah. And she's done that 1,000,000 times, right? She's done that 1,000,000 times. And it sounds like she's done that 1,000,000 times, right? How do you feel? You feel like, I feel like a sheep who's listening to this 1,000,000 times. I don't feel like a passenger. I feel like she's just reading a piece of paper that she's read 1,000,000 times. Changing that to make it feel like actually they're talking to us. Making it feel like it isn't the first time. When you start, founders, those of you that are here now or going to become founders or do lots of presentations or speak a lot in public, you'll know that often we actually tend to share the same thing, often the same kind of things. Sometimes, as founders, pretty much all the time until we tweak things and change things. So you're saying the same thing all the time. You need to make sure the things you share don't sound like you're reading something off a piece of paper 1,000,000 times. All right? To do that, you need to colour your words. You need to colour your words. Feel what you're saying. I know I keep saying this emotional awareness is, putting all of the time, most of the sections that we've gone through, but it means so much. And it will help that connection, your stronger connection between you and your audience. Right, we move on to persuasive speech. Persuasive speech, right? So there are many things we can do when we speak to kind of get people to listen to us more. Yeah, right? And you've probably heard of rhetoric devices, there's hundreds of them in fact. Small little things strategies we can use to get people to listen to us more, remember what we're saying, and try almost like a suggestive speech as well. I'll do this right now. Can I ask you, if I said to you now, you could go tomorrow and have 2 weeks, right, 14 days, 2 weeks on holiday, right, anywhere. You have 2 weeks holiday and you get paid for 2 weeks to do anything you want to do. What would you do? Where would you go? Don't tell me, just think about that, right? 2 weeks, anywhere, paid. Do what you like. Feels good, huh?
Yeah.
Feels great. Feels really good. Yeah? Okay. I'll tell you what I would do. Here's what I would do. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do, but there we are. I just wanted to show you, whenever I get you to think about something, and you are in that, and you think about that idea, you are in a better position to hear what other people have. I didn't tell you, but we've all got different ones. I guess you would be intrigued, maybe, to hear what other people are doing with their 2 weeks. Maybe you're gone to the Bahamas, maybe. No. Maybe you are sitting in front of Netflix for 2 weeks at home. No. Okay. Maybe you are. No. Maybe he's like that. Yeah, you bet I am. So anyway, So you all have different things. I don't know, but I took you to a place. You took yourself to a place just by suggesting. And what did I say? Did you notice what I said? I said, it feels good, right? And you went, yeah. In your mind, you're like, yeah. It feels good, right? That feeling of suggestion, that feeling of going somewhere that you decided to go, I've taken you there. And the great thing about this is, you're now ready to hear what other people have to say on the same topic. It's a very good way to get people thinking and feeling about a topic before you give your perspective, your idea on how you share a solution, on how you share your idea, right? Give you another one. So for example, okay, what's your favourite chocolate? What's your favourite chocolate? What's your on a desert island, you can have one chocolate, one candy bar, one chocolate, right? Forever, right? One chocolate, one, not two, one, not two, one. What would that be? No, don't tell me. What is it? What is it? What is it actually? I want to know. Don't tell. Anyway, so. But you've thought of that, you've thought about that, and then if I say to you, would you like to know what I've chosen? Probably, you might not say yes, but probably part of you is curious to know, right? Okay, here, I'll give you right now the start of a TEDx talk. I work with a woman who's a teacher in Dubai. And this is how she started her talk. This is how we framed it. She's a teacher and a professor at a university over there in Dubai, and she is talking about the power of how teachers should really help their students in a more empathetic way. Most people would say that's what they should be doing anyway, but anyway, her talk was on that, and it was a powerful message she was trying to share. How did we begin to get everybody thinking about this? So this is what we did. This is exactly, or more or less, what we did. So she started like this. Think back to when you were 16, 15, 16, right? Those times when you were 15 and 16 at school, right? Some of you, right? I'm looking now. Some of you are 15, 16 here. No, are you? No. So, anyway, think back when you were 15, 16, right? Probably some of you were feeling, this is a great time in my life, right? I've got everything ahead of me. I'm feeling good. I'm looking for dates, looking for a boyfriend, looking for a girlfriend. Some of you were maybe thinking, this is a time of uncertainty. This is a time where I'm not quite sure where my place is in this world. I'm not quite sure of what I'm going to do in my career. I'm not quite sure of what's going to happen tomorrow. But probably for all of us, we all, at that time, somewhere along the line, we had one special teacher. One teacher that made an impact on us, right? And then she carried on and started to talk about her special teacher, which made a massive impact on her life, and who encouraged her to become a teacher, blah, 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 right? But what did I do there? I got you thinking about it. So whether it was for you a great time at school, because maybe it wasn't. And then I said, maybe it wasn't a great time for you at school, because for some of you that's true. It was a bad time. I don't know. But probably for all of us, there's one special teacher that means something, right? Am I right? Probably? No. Nope. No teachers. Homeschooling. No, I'm kidding. So, but most of us, there's like one special teacher that means something. So I got you to think about that, and I got you to start thinking really hard about that. Then if I continued, I would give you my special teacher, who was, what it meant to me. It's the same thing with pitching. It's the same thing presenting, especially with pitching. So sharing our frustration, sharing that problem, a problem that actually means something to us. A problem that means something to us is so important to share that, to let people know that you are related to that problem. Give you an example. This was actually, I think it was a Spanish guy. He was like 19. I was helping them in an accelerator program, and he was pitching all about an eye test, an electronic eye test, right? So he was talking about how it's difficult for people to get to the opticians in certain parts of the country. It takes time, long process, waiting for the results, da 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 da. But he came up with an idea, an electronic digital eye test that you can do at home, and it's like really quick and it's really helpful, right? Cool. For me, at the end of the pitch, when I spoke to him, when I first heard it, I said to him, listen, that's all good, but listen, you're forgive me, but you're like an 18, 19-year-old. What on earth do you know about opticians? He had glasses, which was cool, right? So maybe that was the connection. But what on earth how can you stand there and really try to convince others about the whole the whole industry and how it needs to change and understanding it, when I haven't heard anything which tells me you understand it and you're 18, 19? Tell me, please help me on this. He then said to me something that he didn't put in his pitch, which he should have done. And that was, his parents are opticians. And he's been working at the opticians like 2 days a week for like a couple of years, right? And throughout the years, he's heard his parents complain about all the frustrations of the eye tests. So he knows that industry really well. He knows the frustrations, and so all of that is a real benefit for you as a founder. If you can demonstrate that you really get it, you get that industry, you really understand it. I want to know why so whatever you're doing, whatever, whoever you are, whatever idea you have, or concept, or service, or product, if I'm going to invest in you, if I'm going to believe in you, I need to believe that you really know what you're talking about. And you need to tell us why. So that 19-year-old, he hadn't got a business, but he identified a problem, and a problem that he knows well, and a problem that I believed he knew well. So the first thing we did, we put it into the pitch, straight into the pitch, at the beginning, the credibility. So he was sharing something like, at the beginning, he would say, okay, through over the last few years working at my parents' opticians, I identified something that needs to change. So already just subtly putting that in, okay? So there are many ways we can use persuasive speech to suggest, to get people to think, right? Remember this also. If you are sharing your problem, you're sharing the pain point, you're sharing the frustration, if you want people to really look forward to the answer, to the solution, to really want to know what that solution is, you really need to spread out and get people to understand the problem. That's the biggest thing I see. The biggest thing I see with startups that we often work on in terms of the pitch. So if I say to a founder right now, okay, pitch me, tell me what have you got? He'll say, okay, this is the problem, a little bit about the problem, and say, well, what we're doing is we do this, 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 and this. We're doing this, we're doing that, and then we're going to do that, and then in the future we'll do that, that, and that. I don't really care about what you're going to do until I really understand the problem for the market, the problem for not just a few, but the big problem that many people are facing. The more you spread that out, the more you get people to really see you understand the problem, you get the problem, you really understand what the issues are and why the issues are there. Then, at that point, your listener will be like really ready for that solution. They're really ready for that solution. They're ready for it. Because all of you are like, Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, we all understand that. Yeah, because of this, and this. These are the reasons. This, and this. Yeah. Let me share with you right now what we've come up with, and then you share the solution. Okay? So really spread out your problem. Really spread out. Really show that you understand the problem and have credibility with that problem. If you don't, anybody can do it. Anybody can do your pitch. Think to yourself, can somebody else do my pitch with the same impact? And if they can, there's a problem. Because you're the one who should be doing that pitch. Because you understand it, or you've experienced it. You've had this issue, and you wanted to change it. Because it was a frustration for you. Okay? Right. How much time have we got? How much time do we have? We don't. Well, it's not, because they have to leave. Okay, very quickly now with storytelling, right? Storytelling. Why is it so powerful? Tell me. Why is it powerful? Why is storytelling good? I've given you a few things earlier on. Tell me now why you think, if you think, you might not. Storytelling is powerful. Is a good thing to start using. Nobody.
It creates an action.
It creates an action, gets us to feel something. Huh?
It's ingrained in human mind, and that is the way you communicate information, ideas, way before development of new technology. So it's a basic beginning.
Yeah, we are brats, right? Through the human race, we have been designed to listen to stories, to get our brains to listen to things. Absolutely. Here are a few that I've put down. Right? So remember, storytelling. Don't think of storytelling as going up a mountain, the hero, Olympic champion, from rags to riches. Somebody had no money and worked a lot and then became a millionaire. Olympic gold medalists who were, Kostelic family. Blah, blah, blah. That's all cool, right? But most of the time, storytelling, or the way we share stories, it doesn't have to be this way. It could be a lot easier, because it's emotions. It's just simply emotions, sharing emotions that we've had, things that have happened to us, to other people. We always want to listen to stories. Gossip is stories. The last time you sat next to your girlfriend or whatever and had a good gossip about whatever, husbands or boyfriend, I don't know, whatever, things you're unhappy about, that's stories. You're just sharing stories of how you feel, how other people feel. Stories are just exchanges of emotion, right? And we have to remember that, because that's simply, we can use that in how we feel about things, in how our customers feel about things, how potential clients can feel about things. These are the things that I feel, some of the things that storytelling does really well. It helps us to be relatable. So I can share a story, share some ideas about feeling something that happened to me, and it can relate to you. Right? So I can tell anything at all. Right? I can say to you, so you know that feeling of when you're on a plane, or you have a delayed plane. Has anybody here been delayed? Had a flight and they've been delayed, right? If you haven't, you can imagine what it feels like. Doesn't feel great at all, because you're probably tired, frustrated. On the other side, somebody's waiting for you. You're going to miss a connecting flight. Somebody else, perhaps you've got work. I can see you shaking your head. It's probably reminding you of when you had a really bad time, because it takes you back there, right? So I'm just suggesting those feelings, and it's relatable, right? You connected with you. Honest and shares the truth. Often when we speak about a story, we tend to feel it's the truth. That doesn't mean it is the truth, because we've got a lot of fake news all the time. But when somebody starts sharing something that happened to them, instinctively we tend to think that's the truth, right? Instant connection, it's memorable, uses listeners' imagination, and it builds anticipation, because the thing about stories are we can't predict them. We often can't predict a story. We can't predict. Our brains want to, when we take messages in, we want to predict stuff, right? We want to predict what's happening. That's one of the main things of our brains, which keeps us surviving, right? Because we know what's a threat because of what happened before. We know what's good for us because of what happened before. It's the same thing when we hear a story. We can't predict. We can't predict what's going to happen. We don't know. And so we listen more. So if it's something which is predictable, we tend to listen less to. If it's unpredictable, we tend to want to listen more. Good point. Okay? Right. We are going to move on. There we are, sharing moments of emotion. Finding common ground. You've heard me already. Have you ever? You know when. You know that feeling when. Right. We are going to move on to this here. I'm going to ask you to do this. It's going to take 5 minutes. All right? 5 minutes of your time and then we can finish. But let's see. You don't all have to do this. Try it. And then I'm going to ask some of you to share it. Right? So, if I ask you, and this is a good exercise certainly for founders as well. Right? What do you do? If I ask you what do you do, what would you say? Now we've all got an elevator pitch. You know what an elevator pitch is? Where we share a kind of one-liner that says, oh, we do this, this, and this, and this. Bang. This is a little bit more than that. This is something that you can start to build on, certainly as a startup, as a founder, somebody who's got an idea and wants to share that idea and get intrigue. Because when I ask you what do you do, really what you should be doing or saying is something that's going to take that conversation further, right? It's going to take it to the next stage, right? So if you ask me, what do you do? What do you do, Peter? If I was to share with you right now a kind of a framework of that couple of sentences based on not in-person public speaking, but virtual, because a lot of what I do is helping people on the screen to create that chemistry and connection on Zoom calls, right? This is what I would say. Can you read this? Yellow, white, blue. Just have a look at it. Read it. Okay. If I take that back, this is basically what it is, right? So, number one, the first part is identify your customer's problem. You probably noticed I put most people, right? So at the beginning, if you ask me what do you do, the first part would be identifying that problem. So most people find it really difficult to create that connection, that chemistry through the screen, right? That's the problem, yeah? Most people, and I put in most people. You don't have to put in most people, but you can start by using something like, well, most clients in this industry, or most companies who use this tool find this a problem, or most people face this issue all around the world, something like that, okay? Then explain how to solve your problem. Can you see there? So most people find it difficult to really build up chemistry and connection over Zoom calls. That's the problem. That's the big problem, right? And most of you are going like, yeah. And as soon as I say most people, it kind of, for you, you're like that, well, I'm kind of most people. I'm connected with most people, right? Which it actually doesn't have to be the same thing for pitching, because it may not be an industry that your investor or people listening to you are in, but that's okay. Next part. I share ideas, so how do I do that? Explain your plan. What's the plan? I don't give a detailed plan of exactly what I'm doing, but I give a kind of rough idea, yeah? I share ideas, techniques, and a set of behaviors to get really good at virtual exchanges. So that's my plan. That's how I'm doing it. I didn't say how exactly, but I said that's pretty much what I'm doing. And then the last part is the magical ending. It's like the overall big picture of how this helps, how this makes a difference, how it makes a difference. Yeah, I would say that. Think about that, especially founders in the room right now. Your product, service, whatever you're sharing, how it makes a difference. Okay? And this is what I would do. So this helps people build trust and confidence to share stronger stories and messages virtually, leading to more business. So I didn't say this is exactly what's going to happen. I gave a suggestion of what this does, right? I know that everybody I help, maybe they won't get a lot more business. Hopefully it will give them more confidence. Will it give them more business and they'll be like really, super successful? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm giving you a flavor of the big picture. Okay? So, if I was to ask you now, would anybody like to share now their 3-part one-liner story? Who would anybody? If you don't have to, because I don't want to give you much time. But this is a really good exercise for a full group of founders who are already on their way forward to really shape this. Because once you've got this, then you can spread it. Then you can start building on it, and it gets me intrigued. It gets me going. Really? Oh, okay. Philip, where's Philip? Oh, okay. Philip. Okay. So just give me 3. Just give me 3.
Hi guys, my name is Philip. I am the owner of Raft Croatia platform. So what the platform does is actually solve the issues when it comes to ferry booking tickets. So I assume most of you, like I, hate waiting in lines and figuring out the timetables or schedules for the ferries. So that's why I created a platform that consolidates all ferry information on one place, and when you hit that search, it gives you a list of all ferries that goes from point A to point B.
Stay there. Okay, right. So that's cool. That's just really cool. Okay, so that's really cool. I just want to dissect that a little bit. So at the beginning, if I was just chatting to you and said, hi Philip. So I hear you're the startup. What do you do? What was it you do?
I sell ferry booking. I sell ferry tickets.
Okay, that's cool. I sell ferry tickets, right? Okay, that doesn't tell me the problem, and it doesn't kind of. I don't know what that means. You could be selling in a kiosk, you could be selling online. Let's try, I'll help you. Try to start with a yellow.
Sure.
What's the problem? What's the real problem?
The problem is information about ferry tickets, schedules, and options.
Right, so get me feeling and that relating to me. So something like, when you travel, and you buy a bus ticket, it's really easy, and now we can buy plane tickets. But I noticed that with ferry tickets, it's a completely different situation. It's really tough to buy a ferry ticket on time, where, when. And it's just really, and I was so frustrated with that because I live by the sea and I want to go to the islands.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's okay. Now, give me this. And I'm like, that, really? I'm like, yeah, I can imagine that. So then I'll probably say to you, how do you do that then?
Well, in the same manner as you would book bus tickets or airplane tickets. So you enter where you want to go, from where to what point, and this platform gives you all information in one place.
Okay, but what does it do?
It books your ferry ticket. It buys you the ticket.
Okay.
It shows you the information and...
Okay, what I would have done, that's really good, what I would have done is just gone like, well, I would say, so how do you do that? And you would say something like, I immediately saw a massive gap on the market because you can do this with any other travel, and I created a platform where you can do all of that online, at a couple of clicks. It takes 5 minutes, right? And I'm already intrigued a little bit more. So remember, this isn't like the full pitch.
Yeah.
This is like the chat, the one-liner story that defines the problem and how it relates to the person listening, how you're going to solve it, and okay, give me a magical ending. Give me a magical ending.
You book your ferry ticket without hassle, without waiting in line, fast and safe. That's it.
Okay, give me a big. That's a good ending, but give me a bigger ending, because there's a bigger ending. Because what you're doing, you're changing the way ferry tickets are sold, and you're getting more people on boats, right? You're getting more people happier on boats, right? More or less, hopefully, yeah. But you're changing because I don't want to just feel like you're just helping holiday makers who go to Brač and back with a ticket. I want you to make me feel like all boats, wherever you're going. Is this just for Croatia?
Yeah.
Okay. So anywhere, so basically any island in Croatia, any boat journey in Croatia, right now takes time, right? It takes unnecessary time to book, and you're turning that on its head. And you found that gap, and we're making sure that it's easy. It should be as easy as buying a flight ticket online as it is a boat, right? And that's what we're doing. Do you see what I mean? So what you're doing, you're just making this bigger, and making me go, wow, really?
Yeah.
And then, well, maybe, okay, maybe not changing the world, because it's just like Brač. So, mange de vis. But you're saying basically that, you know, this is an issue coming to Croatia, the islands, it's one of the best things about Croatia, but it's such a hassle, and you're turning that on its head. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, thanks, cool. Right, so stop it. But that was an exercise just to show you with just this can really help start to shape those 3 areas of how you're changing things, because ferry tickets, you know, anybody could, I could say I'm selling ferry tickets. Not the same thing. Yeah. See what I mean? Okay, right. Boom. Oops. It's gone. I've got it, it's on, anyway, never mind. So, we've come to the end now. We went through a lot of things. I've gone over time, I apologise. Hopefully, I hope there's something in there that you can take and you can use, right? Whether it's a bit of storytelling, whether it's presence, whether it's using your voice. But you'll agree with me, all of this is awareness, isn't it? It's just being thinking a little bit more about how we show up. And we can, just by changing a few things, by changing the way we move, changing the way we say things, changing the way we think about ourselves and others as well, and big picture, and using this emotional thing, all these emotions, to really get closer and create better connections. That's all it is, all right? There are many things we could have done today, lots of different things about really getting that pitch deck up to scratch, really sharing elements of pitch. Today wasn't about that. Today was about the kind of foundations, just to get you thinking, whether you're a founder, whether you're not a founder, or whoever you are, and you have to show up better by using these things, okay? If you haven't done it already and you may not want to, you can link up on LinkedIn. Maybe you don't want to link up with me on LinkedIn, I don't know. If you do, find me on LinkedIn, Peter Hopwood, and then you never know when we might actually need each other to collaborate. Okay? That's it.
Evo, hvala Peteru i vidite kako meni je vrijeme prošlo super brzo. Kada ovo gledam koliko tema ima, čini mi se da ovo is just end of the part 1. So, there is more to come. Ok, evo, sad mislim da ste zaslužili malo relaksacije, odmora, pojesti nešto i slobodno pitajte Petera što god još želite. Peter, hvala ti puno, bilo je odlično i rado sam se vidio vrlo brzo. Evo, hvala vam još jednom i sad malo prebacimo sa ležernije.